Good sticks, everyone. Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective. Hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and he'll be watching everyone else in the playoffs, Dom. Now, we're no insiders. We're not inside the locker room face-to-face with our favorite players, but we hope to create a relatable and welcoming environment because we're just like all of you listening, fans. Fans with a deep passion for the game of hockey, and in this case, the Colorado Avalanche. Playoffs are tomorrow, and I could not be more excited. And this is episode 29. I was meeting with a mentor last night, and he told me, well, if it's episode 29, you need to talk about Nathan MacKinnon. So I'll find ways to sneak in the already Avalanche legend in here and there. First order of business, though, is he told me I need to start a campaign, Dom. I need to start a campaign because there are rumors via Kevin Weeks that the Avalanche are going to have a new one-off jersey to celebrate their 30th anniversary, and it's supposed to be something Nordiques related. Now, they don't know if it'll be something as simple exactly. They don't know if it'll be something as simple as a shoulder patch or something more significant like an entire jersey, but the jersey that he described to me, and I think this will be very easy for everybody to envision, is, do you recall the reverse retro jersey of a couple years ago that was the Nordiques? It was white with a burgundy Nordiques logo in the center.
I do yes. Actually, yeah.
Top of many people's lists in terms of best jersey that came out of that era. Well, his idea was that we make a home jersey out of that and the colors are inverse. So rather than the logo in the middle be burgundy, instead the entire jersey is that burgundy color, and the fleur-de-lis and Nordique logo are actually that white instead.
Ooh, I see the vision.
So that was his thought. So I've been told to create a campaign to have this jersey made. So this is step one, putting the idea in people's heads. I liked the idea personally. So pretty, easy to make in Photoshop. Just switch a couple colors around and there you go.
I mean, you got me convinced. I'd be on board.
Exactly.
I'd love to see that. If someone in the comments is really good at some, what is that, graphic design?
Yeah.
Send us something. If you got an idea, send it to us. We'd love to see it. We'd love to share it with the world.
And then steal it. No, I'm kidding, man. I don't know why I found that so...
I mean, what are we doing if we aren't having fun here, Corey? So you know what? Laugh. Have a good time. It's early.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the idea. It's mine now. No, I promise if you send us something, we will credit you fully through. So please, we already don't get any comments. I don't want you to be afraid because you think we're going to create or do some theft. The other thing,
yeah, someone who wants to be the first person to comment, literally just say hi in the comments.
I'll
shout you out. You just say hi.
We have had comments on both YouTube and a very limited few in our early days from a close friend of mine. Both comments on YouTube and on Spotify were from friends of mine. So if you don't know me or Dom, we want you to comment.
Drink your water.
Yep, that's what I just did. It's better than coffee at waking you up. You might not believe me, but it's true.
Also bananas. If you need a wake-up call in the morning, potassium is one of the best things to do it naturally. All natural, not having like the caffeine side effect stuff. So if you're like me and you need both, I do the banana first and then get coffee once I'm actually at the office at work.
I will keep that in mind, Dom. Thank you. I will remember that. I didn't know that. So there you go, everyone. You learn something new every day. Well, in terms of Nathan MacKinnon things, Dom, did you know or remember, I did not, that Nathan MacKinnon and Seth Jones, were a part of the same draft class?
No, I don't think I paid enough attention to the draft back then.
I know.
If I'm being honest.
Wow, Dom, you didn't pay enough attention in the draft when you were 13, 14 years old? I can't believe it.
Shaking my head, disappointed in myself.
Weren't analyzing it, weren't scrutinizing it. Ridiculous. I don't know if we can continue this podcast now. Well, there was a lot of pressure on Patrick Waugh and the rest of Avalanche management at the time to actually take Seth Jones first in the draft, because obviously at that time, the Colorado Avalanche defense was not so good, but instead they went with young stud Nathan MacKinnon, who upon first glance looked like a bust, and everybody thought, oh, you picked wrong, boo-hoo. But no, we all know what he became. And sometimes it just takes a few years. And Nathan MacKinnon has said actually something very similar about Connor Bedard, that the kid shows flashes of greatness. So it wouldn't surprise me if in a few years we really see Connor Bedard himself take off with that same kind of MacKinnon work ethic and drive.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see, depending on that. He is in a very bad environment for Bedard. We'll see if he has to force his way out of there. But the makings of the player outside of the environment certainly are extremely similar to MacKinnon. So all the hype with Bedard being that first pick. Obviously Celebrini came just the year after, so maybe it died down a little bit, but Bedard was this next big generational player that everyone was talking about prior to the draft. Just now 2 years ago. Crazy to think.
It is. Well, everybody, before we get into the things that me and Dom frankly really want to talk about, which is creating our brackets live on air here, which is fucking awesome. I've been looking forward to this episode since we started the podcast. If you are not unbelievably excited for the playoffs, if you are new or newer at least to the game of hockey, and you've been keeping up with us, you've been keeping up with some regular season games, you don't want to miss a game in the playoffs. If you liked, I like what the NHL did. If you liked what happened in the Four Nations, you will fucking love what's about to happen now. This is the shit that grown men lay in their beds dreaming about, is 35 pounds of silver to raise above their heads, the Stanley Cup. You have never seen such amazing hockey as you will in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Would you agree, Dom?
You might have heard the phrase blood, sweat, and tears before, but you do not understand what it means until you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. That is all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Valeri Nichushkin, for an anecdote here, during 2022, when the Avalanche won their most recent cup, had his foot in half. And I'm not speaking in hyperbole. They showed the x-rays. This man's foot was in two pieces. And yet, he went out there, skated his ass off, nearly won a Conn Smythe trophy, and then had to be helped off the ice. He couldn't walk off the ice. These motherfuckers will put everything out there, everything, to win the Stanley Cup. It takes a lot for a player not to play, even if they're injured.
Absolutely. This is when we've talked about grit, just true grit and heart and strength of will. That's what it comes down to, is these guys would rather play injured and worry about the consequences to next year. They're here now. They're in the playoffs now. You never know. There's no chances. It's the hardest trophy to win. It's hard to get into the playoffs. Only half the teams make it in. And that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And it really is more compared to certain sports, but less compared to others. And we could go down a whole rabbit hole with that point being that it is super hard to get into the playoffs, let alone to get there to have a chance to hoist the silver. So guys are going to lay out on the line and keep playing through anything they can. It's really not how can you play through the pain. It's how much pain can you play through.
And really, there's no better example than Gabriel Landeskog himself, who by that point, his knee was pretty fucked. And he still played through the entire 2022 playoffs with whatever procedure he had done before, and it paid off. He got the ultimate prize at the end. The consequence is he missed the next 3 years of hockey, but I think we're seeing
the prize.
Yeah, and I think we're finally seeing the result of all that hard work to come back and hopefully earn the prize again. So, but as I said, before we actually get into any of that, hopefully we can convince you why hockey is the best playoffs and why the Stanley Cup is the hardest sport to win. But there are a couple of just very quick notes that we want to talk about with our respective teams, as they did still wrap up the season before we recorded this episode. The Avs were actually the first team to end their regular season on Sunday the 13th. It was very weird, but the benefit of that is they actually get to finally start the playoffs the earliest. Now, that might not sound great, but the Avalanche, notoriously for the last few years, have been one of the teams to start late. So the final first playoff game starts actually April 22nd, which is 3 days after the start of the playoffs on the 19th. So that's tough if you're a fan of the teams who you have to wait and see. But thankfully, the Avs are part of that kickoff, and they have had lots and lots of time to rest everybody. They are pretty much going in with a near fully healthy roster, so we're happy for that. But some quick notes from these last 3 games. In the final game of the season against the Ducks, there were 8 regulars out for minor injuries or maintenance, and yet the Avalanche B squad made a fantastic comeback against the Ducks, winning 4-2, assisted really by Charlie Coyle, who's gotten very, very hot at the right time. I think he is poised for a great playoff run. Well, Avalanche AHLer Wyatt Amat, whose nickname is Ammo, which I like, made his debut against the Kings and also scored his first NHL goal against the Ducks. So way to go, Ammo. Arturi Lehkonen in the game against the Kings was on a 15-game goalless streak, and that has continued. Am I concerned? Not one bit. He is the most clutch player in the Avs, and I have a good feeling that once these playoffs roll around, he's going to be just fine. Well, also during the game against the Kings, Brock Nelson hit career goal, both 300 and 301. And really, despite the Avalanche losing that game, it was an insane effort carried by both him and Valeri Nichushkin. If they hadn't let in the 5th goal, I think they genuinely really would have had a chance. It was crazy to watch. Now, non-Avs related, Dom, you might remember this, but Columbus was given a minor penalty for an ineligible player. I don't know how many times I've seen that.
Oh, yes.
As Voronkov stepped out to take a shift while having a 10-minute misconduct, which, as you can probably surmise, you are not allowed to do.
Yeah, and so I remember sending this to you, Corey, and I think you'd already seen it, but when I came across it on social media, I found out later. So we talked about this, Corey, and it was like, if the refs failed to talk to the bench, then it's the ref's fault for the penalty. If the bench failed to communicate to the player, it's the bench's fault. Well, it turns out it was neither of those. It was actually, the player was told, but there was a language barrier and he didn't understand. So we knew there was a language barrier, but he was actually told directly by both the coach and the refs, and it just didn't compute. That I feel like it's kind of like you get pulled over and then let off with a warning. So since for a 10-minute misconduct thing, he wasn't in the penalty box, he was just on the bench, I think that was the misunderstanding that happened there.
Which is weird, because don't you normally get sent to the locker room for a 10-minute misconduct? Especially, I think it was with less than 10 minutes remaining in the third. Don't you usually just get to get undressed?
Yeah, if there's less than the allotted time remaining, you will be sent to the locker room. However, sometimes I've seen players sent to the penalty box even when there's less than 10 minutes left in a period. Like I saw Bedard have to sit in a penalty box for 2.5 minutes at the end of a second period, and then he was on the bench for the start of the third period and just couldn't hop on the ice. So it's one of those that is very inconsistent. Yeah. Where it's like, if you don't get some other penalty associated with it, where it's like the team is not penalized, but you as an individual are penalized, they don't police it consistently. I would think you're absolutely right. I would think if that one player isn't eligible to be on the ice, even if it's not a power play, they should still be sitting in the penalty box for 10 minutes. They still have water. They can still stay warm over there. They have their own little box to themselves to think about it, and there's no risk of mistake. If there's less than the allotted time remaining, then sure, send them back to the locker room. Either way,
at the very
it would avoid the confusion.
Yeah, that was my thought, because I absolutely understand the language barrier, and I mean, we got a decent laugh out of it, and I mean, there was really no consequence for Columbus at that point, who was winning, like 7-1, so I mean, they weren't overly concerned about it, but it was just an interesting situation that you don't see very often. So that was just something I wanted to highlight because I thought it was funny, same as you. Chris Wagner hit 400 games. Congratulations to him, who has been a career call-up, and the legend lives on in him. And finally, Gabriel Landeskog. Boy, oh boy, everyone. Keeping myself contained here, I took a lap around my house when he scored a Gabriel Landeskog special in his second game back with the Eagles. Tip in front of the net, gritty goal. I didn't about lose my damn mind. I didn't lose my damn mind. I was so happy. So it was, I think, proof enough to me that Gabriel Landeskog is back. He's ready to go. And obviously right after this, he was recalled from his conditioning stint to practice with the team. And actually today is the earliest that he can be taken off of LTIR. And I said that if that does indeed happen, then I will in fact shed real tears today. So as me and Dom record this episode, not that I'm going to tell you what time that's happening at, if that news does come across the dashboard, I will let all of you know immediately, and I will probably cry live on air, so you all get to hear that. So that'll be fun. But Gabriel Landeskog, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. No. Have they already flown to Dallas, or do they do that today?
They do that today.
Okay, because I was going to ask if he was on the plane or not, because we talked about the hypothesis that he might start playing first game be game 3 rather than game 1 potentially. And obviously, if he's on the flight, I don't think he's not playing, right?
There has been mixed reports that he will be ready for game 1. So they're saying there might be a possibility that he plays game 1, and then it might be that he's held until game 3. So we're not sure. So that's why today is really kind of important, because it will lend to us the answers to the questions that we are looking for in that regard. Speaking of which, Dom, I am happy to announce to you and to everybody else, although you already know, that I will be attending my first Stanley Cup playoff game.
I'm honestly so happy for you, bro. I'm mildly jealous not to be there with you, but very, very happy for you. I know it's been a long time coming, and to get to watch one at home, I assume, is it game 3?
Absolutely it is.
Awesome. Well, I am so happy for you. You're going to have a blast of a time. And yeah, I mean, let me know how it goes. Send some pictures. Like,
oh, yes,
just be in the moment.
There will be many. Well, I said a long time ago, at some point this season, whenever I've always been convinced Gabe Landeskog was coming back, that when he does come back, you're not keeping me away from the arena. And I wanted to be there to witness that moment. Was there a cost associated with it? Abso-fucking-lutely there was. Abso-fucking-lutely there was. But I felt that being there in this moment, part of this history, justified the cost of the tickets. And so it was really important for me and my family to be there to see it. And to me, this is more than just seeing the playoff game, but seeing my favorite player, somebody who has had a positive impact on my life, overcome this massive adversity that he has pushed through, and to see the fruits and results of all of that come together. And I just want to be a part of that crowd that roars as loud as possible when they announce him for the starting lineup that night.
Oh, absolutely. That would be a core memory that I'm sure you would never forget.
And that's my same thought. Well, before we get into the absolute meat and potatoes of this episode, I just wanted to check in to see if you had any Sharks or other NHL news that you wish to share with our lovely audience as we approach the apex of this season, because I know it has been, unfortunately, an emotional week in San Jose. So, Dom, the mic is yours.
Well, thanks, Corey. And before I get into the emotion, I just want to say, since we're talking around the league quickly, there are a total of 15 teams, or excuse me, 12 teams, it looks like. Am I counting wrong?
I don't know.
I'm counting wrong, guys.
Depends on what you're counting.
There are 11 teams, at least 11 teams, that will have a bonus overage carryover for cap charges that'll be hitting against their cap next year. The highest of which right now is the St. Louis Blues will have to subtract $2.1 million from their overall cap availability next year. So this is coming out just with every team allocates bonus overages, so bonuses for players like a set amount, and teams that are in the playoffs and pushing up towards the cap sometimes don't account accurately for the bonuses they owe players. So it doesn't come with any penalty. This is just a cool hockey fun fact for you. It doesn't come with any penalty to the team in the same season, but they do have to subtract that amount that they had extra from their next season's cap total. So I don't know if you knew that, Corey, but that's 11 teams currently have that. 2.1 for the million for the Blues is the most. Currently 33,000 for the Canes is the least. The Avalanche are not on this list. The Sharks naturally are not on this list, so that's good for them to both have their full cap space available next year. But actually, there are a few teams that can still have those overages increase, because if Corey Perry gets 50K extra if the Oilers win in the second round, not just the first round, but in the second round, and another 50K if they win in the third round. So some of these contracts are like constructed in very odd ways for how the bonuses work. Steve Boehm, the prospect from here in Denver, from the University of Denver, he gets 25K for having played 5 games for the Wild. I'm not sure, he hasn't hit that level yet, but that's an additional potential overage for them.
How the fuck do I get that bonus? What do I have to do to get an extra $25,000? 5 games?
Well,
bro,
yeah.
You don't even have to do anything. Just like, yes, I skated on the ice. Woo. 25,000, please. What?
He also gets 25K if he gets the Conn Smythe. Similarly for the Canadians.
Wait! Wait, they're offering a kid who has never played pro hockey 25K if he wins the Conn Smythe. That feels mildly presumptuous.
Yeah, so I mean that's how they structure these contracts, though. So the numbers look a little bigger, but then they don't actually have to pay all that money. It's like, hey, if you overperform expectations insanely well, oh, here's 25K.
If you do something that's fucking impossible, here's $25,000.
It seems like a low number in that scheme when you think of how impossible it is.
Literally.
How about this one? This one seems more reasonable. Demidov gets Demidov for Montreal.
Wait, pause. Where are you finding this information?
Puckpedia. They posted
that makes a lot of sense.
The teams with the additional potential bonus overages for this year just this morning. Demidov gets 25K for playing 5 playoff games, 30K for 10 playoff games, and 525K if he comes home with the Conn Smythe.
See, now that feels more reasonable to me. Like, you should be getting a massive bonus if you get the Conn Smythe. Yeah, okay. See, that makes sense. I'm with that. I am with that. Okay.
And so a lot of what the issue is when you see like a team like Montreal being 1.7 million over, part of it is, well, they have Carey Price that's frequent overage due to his LTIR status.
Yeah.
But it's actually with so many young players in Montreal having hit their bonuses this year, those are just the bonuses left to be hit. Pretty much every other young player from Montreal clean swept and got the bonuses that they were eligible for. So that's...
Then my question is, if you don't meet the criteria for those bonuses, do they just get wiped? Does the team not have to worry about them then?
Yeah, they don't. Okay. They don't hit the team's book. So that's where the team will basically say, hey, our contracts are set with these bonuses, but this is like the base salary. The base salary is what counts against the cap, and then they have like a budget for bonuses.
Okay.
Like if I look at what the Sharks had, their performance bonus cap, like reserved cap hit, is the performance bonus cushion excess was 1.83 million combined for the whole team, and it's considered a buyout and cap charge thing. So it's its own category. It's different from the retained salaries. It's technically different from buyout, but they kind of lump it in that category because those are things that hit the books that aren't charged to a player anywhere on the active roster or the AHL or the non-roster forwards who can be called up. So it's a unique thing, and that's just an estimate. I think it's based on percentage of salary, or it's based on there's some type of calculation it's based on where it's like these are all the bonuses offered across contracts, some numerical estimation calculation of what are the odds that certain ones actually are hit versus others, and then they'll present a modeled number. So obviously in the case of the Sharks, they have like 9 million in cap space anyway, so even if everybody hit every performance bonus, they'd still be fine. But it's just an interesting fun fact that I came across today, just seeing these different overages. Actually, in it was 2023-2024 that had a 15 teams. That was the record for having a bonus overage. In last year it was 12 teams. Now so far it is 11 teams. So it seems to be on the trend down, especially as the cap goes up. It's harder to go over the cap now, it seems, until contracts are inflated and catch up to that. So anyway, that is like an early fun fact from around the league I have, Corey. Anything you'd like to add there before I get to my depressing portion of the segment?
Nope, I added plenty.
Awesome. Well, for those who don't already know, the Sharks have just been absolutely destroyed by injuries to finish the season. And honestly, I'm willing to say that is part of the reason they have finished the season on an 11-game losing streak. Because Georgiev's been okay. He nearly won a goalie battle and got the team a win when they had no business winning. Like, he was just playing insane against Vancouver, and they could have won that game, but they just couldn't put the puck in the net. Other than MacLeod Celebrini scoring for his first goal in front of his hometown crowd. Yay! So happy for the kid. He was voted or selected as the Sharks Rookie of the Year. My point per game projection fell just slightly short. I don't know how bold of a prediction it was, but that prediction came up short. He finishes with 62 points in 69 games to lead. But I think he leads all rookies in points per game, and he leads all rookies in goals. He did get past Michkov with his 25th goal of the season. So as a rookie, a 25-goal scorer.
Yeah.
Top 4 in rookie goal scoring, Will Smith as well, finishing with 19 or 18 goals on the year, I should say. And let me see. Just since January 20th, so in their last 30 games, MacLeod has 30 points. Will Smith has 29.
Yeah,
they are both averaging nearly a point per game over the last 3 months. It's going to be good next year.
Calder or not, that is great stuff, truly.
Yeah, and I will still hold out hope for Calder Brini. I don't expect it, but I'm biased, so I want it. I want it for the kid, but there will be next year, and these kids are playing super, super well together on the same line. Again, the line combinations have shifted. It's not like the sleepover line anymore. Kovalenko was playing there and doing quite a good job, although he has been unhappy, supposedly, with the Sharks with his scratches at points and playing on the fourth line, not getting enough ice time. So supposedly from talking with his dad, who's actually friends and played, or I don't know if friends is the right word, but he played on a team with Coach Warshawski together back in the day. So there's close relations there. But his dad was saying that Kovalenko might actually return to the KHL after the season. He is a restricted free agent. So I really, really hope the Sharks can figure something out, and that perhaps this time on the top line with Smith and Celebrini and the success also had by Kovalenko, maybe he'll stay around, because I think he's somebody who has a good amount of upside. But that'll be something that I will have to update everyone on a little bit later here into the offseason, maybe when we get closer to draft time or early at the start of our next season of coverage. Crazy that we're here at the end of the season, Corey. I still can't believe it. It's the playoffs, but crazy that the regular season is over. Like, we started this in like the last week of the preseason, and here we are, and it's about to be game 1 of the playoffs tomorrow. Like, I can't believe it. We did it. We covered a whole season, man.
It's a surreal moment for sure.
But back to the Sharks. I mentioned a lot of injuries. So there's going to be a lot to go through here, and I'm going to save the most important, significant one that I know you know, Corey, for last. I want to wrap with that. So a while back when I talked about when Mario Ferraro took that puck off of his ankle directly on the side of the skate, he did in fact break his ankle. However, it was confirmed that he will not need surgery and is not expected to miss any time next season. So, yes, he missed out on the last 3 games. I wanted to avoid injuries at the end of the year. That's really when the Sharks were playing out the string, that's just what it was about, is just trying to survive, really. And for the young guys, try to get some experience. But obviously, we never want a player to break their ankle, especially one of our own players. But he is going to be okay. That's the moral of the story I'm taking from this. He is going to be okay, and he shouldn't miss any time next year. Next year will be a contract year for Mario. We'll see if we can get him extended. We'll see if we want to extend him. He was on the trading block, but Greer didn't want to let him go for anything less than a first. So, I mean, I love his energy. He's a fun player to watch for me. He's like the Afro, a little bit less dynamic version of Brent Burns. Like the energy on the ice he brings, like the toothless grin and everything, just that he's not as big and as imposing. He's not this big mountain man, I'm gonna just smash you. But he has that same flair and energy that I think is good for the locker room. So I'd like to see him back up on his feet and okay for next year and staying with the team. Mook Madulin, also injured earlier, was already ruled out for season, but he should also be healthy for next year. Shoulder surgery is still not confirmed whether they'll do that, but they said even if it does happen, the recovery time should not pose any issue for him to miss time. He is a restricted free agent this year, so expect to see him re-signed for the next couple of years here early in the offseason. Desharnais finished the season out of the lineup with an upper body injury. He missed the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 games. And Clem Costin, who has been out with a lower body injury for a few weeks now, also did not return for the Sharks season finale at home versus Edmonton. Unfortunately, though, the injuries had to keep stacking up because on Sunday the 13th, when they were playing against the Calgary Flames, they lost not 1, not 2, not 3, Corey, but 4 players to injury in this game. Bordelau in his return call-up to the NHL from the AHL level, and he was expected to be part of the AHL roster at some point here during the Calder. He had an undisclosed injury and played, I want to say, less than 10 minutes in the game. Ostapchuk had an upper body injury, and he did not play for the rest of this game against Calgary, and for the rest of the season, he did not play against Vancouver or Edmonton. Same was true of defenseman Jack Thompson, so yet another defensive injury that the Sharks really just could not afford to have. A lower body injury for him, and Jan Ruda was out again after less than 2 games back since returning to the lineup from injury. So Ruda scored a game-tying goal to make it 2-2 in the second period versus Calgary, but then was injured in the third and did not return against Calgary or against Vancouver or Edmonton, either of those games to finish the season. So all 4 of those were originally considered day-to-day, but again, they did not play any further. Unfortunately, in the AHL level as well, on Saturday, the 12th, Philip Bystedt, I think it's Bystedt, sustained a lower body injury. So it doesn't hurt just the Sharks, but it does hurt the Barracuda, who have locked up a spot. They're currently competing, and they play tonight, I believe, against Calgary's affiliate to basically decide who's going to be the 5 and the 6 seed that come out of the Pacific, I believe, or it might be the 4 or the 5. So I think they might end up playing each other either way in the first round, but it's just a matter of seeding for who gets home ice advantage for those 3-game AHL playoff series. So just a lot of injuries right now for the Sharks, and the most significant one is not a new injury, actually, but it's Logan Couture, who's been on IR for a deep groin injury called osteus pubis, where the bone in the hip pubic area, that connection, there's deep bone bruising, and there's really, it makes it just hard to move because of the way your hips flex and move. And he's been dealing with that since January of last year. Unfortunately, earlier this week on Tuesday the 15th, he did he determined he had to announce his retirement, as he stated he is no longer able to play hockey. The Sharks captain played his entire career with the organization since being drafted in 2007, and really served as a reliable top tier two-way center during his 16-year NHL playing career. He was part of every single one of the Sharks playoff appearances of the 2010s. The 2009-2010 season was his first season on the ice, and he played in that 2010 playoffs. So he actually, backing up, he finishes his career with 323 goals and 701 points in 933 regular season games. So a very respectable, very good career for him. I mean, finishing with what is that? It's not quite a point per game, but Corey, if I'm doing the math, 701 divided by 933 is about 0.75. So 3/4 of a point per game. It's pretty consistent. And what was really valuable was his two-way, his ability to play defensively as well. So he was a key young player that fit in while you had Marleau and Thornton and Pavelski, all these glory days of the late 2000s, early 2010s period when the Sharks were making consistent runs to the playoffs, at least, even if they didn't go far enough and maybe fell short of expectations. But he was particularly instrumental in some of the playoff success that the Sharks had in the 2010s. He actually has 48 goals and 101 career points in the playoffs. During that time stretch of the 2010 to 2019 playoffs, where all of those playoffs that Couture participated in, only first ballot Hall of Famers Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Patrick Kane have scored more postseason points during that stretch of time.
That's good company.
So that is incredibly good company. For those who don't know or recognize Logan Couture because it's a smaller market, from others around the league, he's really good and respected at what he does, and he showed up in the biggest moments in the playoffs, perhaps none less significant than what he did in 2016 to help lead the team, even if he didn't have the captaincy at the time, to get to the Stanley Cup final. That was a highlight of his career that he was happy to share during his press conference. Also 2019, that first round, Game 7 against Vegas, scoring 2 of those goals on the 5-minute major that ended up being the Sharks' rally to win the series and continue on churning. Sorry, Avs fans. I wish we could have beat the Blues for y'all and gone to a cup. I sometimes forget that, I mean, in that most recent playoff run in 2019, he scored 14 goals and 20 points in 20 games played. So that was, I mean, he was consistent, a point per game player often in the playoffs when he was at his prime and his peak. So that unfortunate injury and the fall off of the Sharks with everything from the end of the era, with the Marleau and the Thornton moving on, retirements with Pavelski moving on and now retired. I sent you something, Corey, but Vlasic is now the last one standing from that era, missing the days of Danny Boyle with Logan Couture, even Bernsey. I miss Bernsey the most sometimes. So it is going to be an entirely new era looking into next season for the Sharks. So this is one of the last holdovers was the captain. I'm honestly interested to see, Corey, who the captain would be. And so I just want to say, before I ask this question to you, Corey, shout out to Logan Couture. On behalf of all San Jose fans, we love you, man. We hope you're well and enjoy your time now with your family. And move forward with something that makes you happy and that you continue to heal up and be okay overall outside of the game. I know it's sad to not be able to play, but we're wishing you all the best, man. But Corey, the question now is, who is the Sharks' next captain?
Well, I was going to ask you that. Why the fuck would I know? I don't watch the Sharks. But here, let me phrase it like this. Not that I don't want to get into it, but we do have other priorities today. So I guess without even thinking about it too hard, Dom, if you had to pick a player on the Sharks roster right now who you think is worthy of being captain of this team, who do you pick? I said without thinking, Dom.
Without thinking, Alex Wenberg.
Ooh.
Alex Wenberg, Barclay Goodrow's the obvious one, who's the veteran playing on the fourth line. I think there's 3 legitimate candidates. The other one being Toffoli, who have the experience, the leadership qualities. I would say those 3 are the guys I would look to. Alex has done a great job wearing the A, so that's why I say him. I feel like they're grooming Celebrini to get him into that role eventually. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to make that jump right away.
No.
So that I think I think personally, I think Alex Wenberg, the way he has led, Goodrow might be the most obvious, but he can also be more expendable or come in and out of the lineup comparatively, whereas Wenberg will be in a at least middle six role. Super good in the circle, just a good leader and a role model all around, very professional, and he's more outspoken, I feel like, than Toffoli is. So I would give the edge to Alex Wenberg.
All right. Well, we obviously wish the very best to Logan Couture and his family, and it's a shame that he really couldn't go out on his terms. And like, I don't know if saying that I feel bad is the right way, but I understand how you feel, where I obviously am now, even after 3 years, getting to watch my captain come back, despite a lot of people saying he wouldn't be able to. And I'm sorry that you didn't get the same, I guess.
Oh, well, thanks, Corey. And I think that's what you said it I'm most sad about, is any player should always want to and get to go out on their own terms, and not everybody gets to decide that. But when you've been playing as well as Couture has, someone who is well respected and has a great game, he's the type of guy who certainly earned the ability to go out on his own terms and not be retired and pushed out of the league. And so, unfortunately, the injury retiring him is a sad sight we never want to see for any player. But he took it with grace. He was very grateful to have all the team and people show up. A lot of people from San Jose showing up and just showing him some love. So he made a big impact, and it will not be forgotten. I don't know if it'll be something where they'll put his number in the rafters so quickly after Marlowe and Thornton. But
definitely going up there.
I think it's something that should happen eventually.
Well, perhaps a front office role awaits him soon.
Yeah, I mean, would love to see him behind the bench as well. If he wants to help out with this young core and still continue to lead, that would be great to see. If that is of interest to him, would love to see that.
Absolutely. Well, are you ready, Dom? You ready to kick this off?
Yes. Sorry, I took a little long there, guys. This was just a big thing. It's like emotionally heavy, but
that's massive to talk about.
But hey, highlight from the season: Sharks hit 20 wins. Calder Brini's awesome. We're finishing on a positive. Let's talk playoffs.
All right, everyone. Well, I'm gonna hype y'all up right now. As I already mentioned, if you are somewhat new to following hockey, this is what you play 82 games for. I love the regular season personally, but this is where it all comes together. You thought hockey was the fastest, toughest, most awesome sport on two legs from October to April, where you're about to have your mind absolutely shattered when you witness the greatness that is playoff hockey. In a room of sports fans of all different backgrounds, they nearly all said that playoff hockey was one of their favorite sports to watch, and there is very good reason for that. Everything is dialed up to 11, and I'm not being hyperbolic. Physicality, special teams, speed, intensity, and of course the stakes. Therefore, it is with extreme pleasure that Dom and I finally get to do our first playoff preview and essentially construct our brackets live. Speaking of brackets, this podcast has its own league that you need to join to prove you know hockey better than either Dom or I. It costs absolutely nothing to join, and you are competing for the ultimate bragging rights. To join, go to nhl.com/brackets, sign up, free account, no money needed. Go to the leagues tab and search Captain Avalanche Fancast. That is the name of our league, and I did have to scroll for a second to find it. It is password protected for the exclusivity of our listeners and followers of this podcast. The password is perseverate, and that's case sensitive with a capital P. That's spelled capital PERSEVERATE. Once again, that's PERSEVERATE with a capital P. And I want at least 20 participants within this league. That number might seem small to you, but it's big to us. So go join, go tell your friends and their friends, and let's enjoy some playoff hockey together. And we will update you with the league standings every week in each episode as our playoffs carry on, even if the teams we're rooting for get eliminated. So go join. Now, before we get into how I've constructed this little analysis here, if we make picks that you think are wrong, or you don't agree with, or we say something like this team's top 6 is better than this team's top 6, that is our opinion. And the best part is you are free to make your own choices. Isn't that right, Dom?
Hey, I mean, opinions are subjective. We're not all brackets are supposed to be the same. There wouldn't be any fun in that. So
Exactly.
Corey and I aren't even going to think of it all the same.
Probably not.
Checking in quickly, I had lost connection there for a minute. So is the audio still coming through good?
Yep, you're all good. You're all good.
Awesome. Yeah, so we it wouldn't be fun if everyone picked the same thing, right? It's just like March Madness. It can be any number of crazy permutations, the number of games even. If you didn't know, in the first round in this app, you can actually pick the number of games, how long you expect each first round series to go for bonus points as well. We encourage you to do that so you get all the points you are eligible for. But also that makes it, even in that way, you can pick the same teams, but pick a different number of games. So even in the smallest of ways, they will all end up being a little different.
So really what we're here to do is to obviously make our picks, but to, offer you some insight, offer you our opinions. If you want to take what we say and use it to help you make your picks, that's great. If you want to say you guys are fucking stupid, I don't want to do a damn thing you say, that is perfectly valid. That's the whole point of you joining the league. You're trying to tell us that you know more. And I want you to do that. That would make me genuinely very happy. So please go and do that. But we got quite a few things to get through, so let's roll. So Dom, in front of me, I have, in fact, I'll even show you. I can even show you what I have in front of me, Dom, but I have many tables. So I have a table for each of our matchups in the first round here for the East and the West. Now, I have several factors, and we'll just put a big fat X for which team between the two we think has the advantage in that factor, right? And so the factors that I have here are the top 6, the bottom 6, their decor, their playoff experience, their goaltending, the X factor, which we'll have to determine whatever that is for each team, and our gut feelings. Now, we can disagree on each of these things. This is for my own enjoyment. But Dom, looking at these factors that I have all queued up here, I actually replaced roster balance with experience. So do you think there are any factors that I need to add, maybe even subtract from what we have here right now?
Do you want any stat tracker, anything that's outside of our opinion base, but adding something like their Corsi and just pulling those up quickly? Is that something you think would be valuable? Because just for a general, like that Corsi 4, I know you've talked about it a lot of times, or the PDO with like puck bounces just going their way. Are those something we would want to add as we do this, or are we just going to go purely off of our instinct? Because if we're going off instinct, I think you have a great list there. Those would be the only things I would say maybe to add. So then there's some analytics that we can either agree with or go against, depending on our analysis of all of those factors.
I don't think I'll add it as a factor, Dom, but if you want to pull up Corsi, you can pull up Corsi. I think some different approaches here for how we're going to do this makes it more fun. So definitely pull that up if you'd like to. But I think I'll personally try and keep advanced stats out. I might use stats to help me determine, okay, well, I originally thought this team's top 6 was better than this team top 6, but looking at the stats here, I think actually that because this team's top 6 has more goals for, blah, blah, blah. But I also don't want to get like too in the weeds, you know what I mean? Because the likelihood to pick a perfect bracket is 0.003%. We'll try our best, but often the things that we all think are going to happen, no matter who you are seldom the things that actually do. Welcome to playoff hockey, everyone. But without further ado, let's get into our first matchup here. The Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. What I am going to pull up, though, is I guess let's go to Daily Face-Off here to help ourselves out here. I do need to look at teams' rosters because I don't actually know all of them that well. So, wait, nope.
Yeah, I'll be doing the same thing on Puckpedia as well. I'll just be looking over here.
Alrighty, so where are the Jets? Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. All right. They got it pulled up for me here. Thank you, Daily Face Off, for helping us look at this. And let's go to the St. Louis Blues. I'm going to go ahead and end my stream here just for ease. All right. So here is your top. Actually, you know what? If I read out each top six for every team, we're going to be here all day. So let's take a look here, Dom. Top six Blues versus Winnipeg Jets. How are we feeling about this one? And, you know, I feel like we somewhat put too much stock in recency bias. But I don't think it could be ignored that the Blues got hot here at the end of the season. Very hot. But also that the Jets managed to put a stop to that. But regular season beating does not necessarily translate to postseason beating, as we learned very well last year.
Well, and we've seen Winnipeg struggle a lot in the postseason, but also, sure, St. Louis went on, what was it, a 12-game winning streak? And then they lost like 5 of their last 6 or something like that. So 4 of their last 5. It was, they dropped off a little bit there. They let Calgary back into the race, and I'm pretty sure Calgary finished with the same number of points on the year and just lost out on the tiebreaker for having less regulation wins on the season. So, or just less wins in general. They had a lot of OT losses, Calgary did. So, you know, I think that's something to consider, that sure, they were hot, but they also cooled off.
Here's something interesting for you that I just caught. Sorry to cut you off there. Here. What did you have anything else you wanted to add there?
Oh, I was actually just going to go back to your question and actually look at their top sixes side by side.
So something interesting here is the Jets, despite all of their touted balance, actually only have 4 20-goal scorers, which is really good. Like, don't get me wrong. And both Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor have done super well for themselves, with Mark Scheifele almost hitting 40 goals, which is fucking crazy. But interestingly enough, the team did not have a lot of high goal scorers, frankly. And the St. Louis Blues have a little bit more, I think, balance in their top 6 in terms of goal scoring, but it looks to me like the Jets have a bit more balance across the bottom 6 in terms of goal scoring. So looking at this right now, in my own opinion, and again, you're free to disagree, I think in terms of top 6, I think the Jets got it. But in terms of bottom 6, I think the Blues got it. Wait, nope. Did I want to say that, or do I want to say that the other way around? Nope. I meant to say in terms of top 6, Blues got it. Bottom 6, Jets got it. Which that?
Yeah, I think the bottom 6 the Jets have either way, and you can even see that just based on the salaries comparing them. They're paying more for their third line than the Blues are paying for their bottom 6 combined. So when you have Lowry, Tanev, Appleton, that's just a better third line in my opinion, and that's going to set their bottom 6 apart.
I agree.
I would personally take the balance of Winnipeg's top 6 myself. And Iafallo could stand to do a little bit better. I think Scheifele, we all know plenty about. I will say right now, the hottest player on either team is Pavel Buchnevich for the Blues. So if we just want to say best player right now who's playing the best hockey, like hot on a goal scoring run, like he scored like something like 4 goals in 5 games here near the end of the season.
Robert Thomas was in a very similar situation to that as well, playing absolutely insane hockey.
So maybe then I have to say the Blues top 6. You're right, because when you think about that, with Neighbors has played really well, especially on that cheap contract for his, like, being a young player. That's really good. I mean, Ben, Kyrou, but that's tough.
I don't know, because it also feels like Winnipeg has more high-end goal scoring when it comes to their top 6 also, because the most goals on the Blues was scored by Jordan Kyrou, and he's the only 30-plus goal scorer, whereas the Jets actually have 2 30-plus goal scorers, with Gabe Vilardi getting very close to that.
Yeah,
I actually think I changed my mind. I think I'm still going to go Jets top 6 here as well.
Yeah,
personally.
I think the Jets roster has more upside. Um, I think when we talk experience, I know you had that as a factor, and I'm not trying to jump around.
Do it.
The Blues, just the length of their roster, I would say their experience is at a their experience is stronger. When you think of what Thomas is young, but is clearly playing very, very well. Shen, of course, Kairu has been around. Buchnevich has been around. Like Foxa, like helping Sundqvist out. I mean, their experience in the fact that. Not to mention Pareko, Bennington, Falk, like getting to other older guys, Letty, even Suter. Like they have I would say we have to put the experience there. And so when the top sixes are a bit balanced, or just when we look at these rosters being reasonably balanced, I do think that experience is maybe what helps us want to pick the Blues a little bit more in that category. Maybe that's why we can say raw talent, top six goes to Winnipeg, but overall experience should go to St. Louis.
I agree. And we don't even have to fuck around with it. The goaltending goes to Winnipeg. Like even with Jordan Binnington being a Stanley Cup champion, it's hard even with history to argue against Connor Hellebuck, and I'm not foolishly going to pick against him here. Decor is interesting here because I like both of these cores. I'm actually a big Colton Pareko fan personally. Yep. But then obviously the Jets have Josh Morrissey here. Oh boy, this is actually kind of a tough matchup here. But let's see. I guess let's see this. Let's see which defenseman let's see the defenseman for both teams and see which team has more, I guess, offensive upside. That's what
I would argue Morrissey on his own is the highest upside offensive defenseman of either team.
You are
definitely. I know I talked about him in the preseason.
Definitely not wrong.
I also am a fan of DeMello and Pionk for the
they
for
just
Winnipeg's
extended
defense.
Him, so that is not a surprise.
Yeah, so I think Pareko is a different style. He's that physical, he's big, he's tall, he's imposing. A lot of that experience we talked about, though, comes on the defensive side here for the Blues. So experience and good positioning, they might not be the biggest upside name getters or shooters all the time, but they are going to be very stable, stout defensively. They're going to be in the right positions. My only concern would be if there's any of the youth with Winnipeg that can maybe take advantage of just slightly aging legs. Winnipeg, like DeMello's 31, Shen is 35, but everyone else is 30 or younger. The only one younger than 30 on the Blues defense is Broberg, who's 23. So speed can be a factor here where it's like age doesn't always matter, sure, but I would probably give the edge slightly to Winnipeg. Again, I'm saying that St. Louis has more experience.
I'm in the same boat. Interesting fact about Winnipeg: Nikolai Ehlers is currently injured week to week as of Tuesday, April 15th. So that is a massive blow. Gabe Vilardi is also dealing with an injury, as well as Rasmus Kuparty. But Gabe Vilardi and Nikolai Ehlers missing for the Jets could certainly be a big blow to their scoring. That is two of their top 4 scorers. So that may have an impact for this team. I will be interested to see how that goes. Obviously, they still have Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. So let's go ahead and talk about the X factor for each of these teams. I think easy enough, the X factor once again for Winnipeg is Connor Hellebuck. If he shows up, if he does what he's done all season, that's a fucking good goaltender right there. But what do you think is the X factor for St. Louis? I think for me personally, it's actually also Jordan Binnington and how he has that Stanley Cup experience and also got his swagger back after a great Four Nations performance. I think that is the X factor for them. And once again, I'm still leaning foolishly, maybe leaning Hellebuck.
It's which Bennington shows up, right? I think
Which
on
Hellebuck
his
shows up.
which Hellebuck shows up too. I think Bennington, when he's having his night, he's plays flashier than Hellebuck does. So
Yes.
he can look
Two
like
very
the eye
different
test can
goaltenders.
look. Yeah, he can look the better goaltender on the eye test, even if the stats aren't always there. But he can also make some big blunders. He's just a very aggressive goaltender. So he can over try or overextend for a poke check and then get beat that way. I would say the X factor for me for Winnipeg, sure, it's always going to be Hellebuck until Hellebuck wins a cup. That's always what people are going to say because he's a regular season Titan. So maybe an honorable mention would be this vastly improved Winnipeg offense. Because like you said, I don't know who a single X factor is, but when you're talking about Ehlers and Velarde being out, who steps up and scores?
Yeah.
Is it Perfetti? Does Nemestikov go off? Is it Niederreiter? Like who's going to be playing on the second line? Does Iafallo just start going off? Who's going to step up and really put in a bunch of goals in the net until those guys are back? Because that was the thing Winnipeg struggled with in previous seasons. They've always been strong defensively, strong in net, and it was a matter of just playing low-scoring games, and that changed this year. They were really, really good offensively, but obviously losing top offensive players and now being in the pressure of the playoffs. I think that's the real X factor for me is who shows up for Winnipeg. Even when we talked about the Avs and Kiviranta, who is that guy who steps up on the second or third line who doesn't always score a lot but goes off for double-digit playoff goals?
I think it's going to be Coyle. Anyway, finally. Gut reaction here. This is where it can really go either way. For me, my gut still says the Jets.
If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I think I said on the podcast that I would have picked St. Louis in a matchup with Winnipeg while they were on that winning streak. I think now St. Louis has come back down to earth a little bit, settled into that last playoff spot. Winnipeg's just been very consistent to finish out this year, even with guys resting some. My gut's saying Winnipeg, but I'd love to get your opinion on the number of games this goes because I don't think we're in sweep territory.
I forgot about that part. Oh, I haven't picked the second wait. How do I wait? Where do I pick?
You have to pick all of your West. You have to pick all of your Western and then your Eastern, and then they'll let you pick the games for all of them at the same time.
I think it goes 6. I think Winnipeg or St. Louis gives Winnipeg like a decent time here. I don't think it's necessarily like an easy out, but I just think overall, if Winnipeg is able to stick to their system and don't get exposed, I think it still goes 6. I think 6. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to say like a team's going to get swept. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't think I have any picked as sweeps right now. I did the honor of a gentleman's sweep, although I know who I'm picking to be swept if when we get over to the East, if I had to pick one team to go 4-0.
I think we're both in the same mindset there.
Yeah, but I also have just on here, I did click through a couple things quickly just so I could more read off of the analysis and then maybe make updates if I felt the need to, but I do have Winnipeg over St. Louis in 6 as well, was what I had written down.
This is really interesting. Just kind of skipping ahead here. I'm looking at Vegas's lineup here.
Let's jump to Vegas. Let's do Dallas, Colorado last.
I had it last, obviously. We'll keep it moving though. Vegas does not have Mark Stone. It's because this is from April 17th. That would be why. Okay.
Yeah, Puckpedia's up to date if you want.
Puckpedia. Okay, thank you. I will go to Puckpedia instead. Thank you.
Yeah, it does have like for Minnesota, for example, Kaprizov, Eriksson, Ek. If you go over to the depth chart and then go lineup tab, that's what I've been using.
Got it. Yep. Thank you, Dom. That is much better. Thank you to Puckpedia once again for being the GOAT. Okay. Perfect. This is better. Okay. This makes much more sense. I like this. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay, I'm good. So, looking at Vegas versus Minnesota. Minnesota has finally escaped the injury bug. So that is good. That is good for them. So I am happy for them in that regard. So I'm going to start with goaltending again. You know what? How about this? I meant to say, let's each make a pick, not tell the other person what we pick for the matchup. So Minnesota and Vegas. And then we'll go through our analysis here, and then we'll see if somebody changes their mind. You down with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I've made my pick. So I'm going to start with goaltending here. I personally think, and I'm going to try and actually run through this a little faster since we have a lot of matchups to get through. I'm going Minnesota on that. I think Minnesota, despite Aiden Hill having a Stanley Cup, I think Gustafsson has done enough to prove that he is the better goaltender. Not only that, but tandem in general. You got Marc-Andre Fleury on your fucking roster. Yeah, he's a little older, but talk about playoff experience. That dude's shitting it out of his ass. It's insane. And Ilya Samsonov is not necessarily the best backup out there. So Aiden Hill and Samsonov or Fleury and Gustafsson, I'm going Fleury and Gustafsson. Not even looking at the numbers there.
You said the exact reasons there. I think Gustafsson has more upside. Maybe I've always been critical of Hill, but I'm going to die on that hill. No pun intended. Fleury has... If you have Fleury as a backup, that was an accident, by the way. That was not me doing it on purpose. Fleury as a backup is just unreal. He's still been going out there, winning games. That playoff experience, just that calm in the locker room, huge factor. Also used to play for Vegas, so somebody both teams know. I think he'll be respected no matter what happens in this, and it should be respected. I think he'll play at some point. I will be at game 3, game 5, game 4. Fleury's starting a game at some point in this series.
It would not surprise me. That is for sure.
Even if it's like game 4 and the series is 2-1, if Minnesota wins in Vegas and it's game 4, I think Fleury easily gets the start to give Flower the start, possibly his last home playoff game, or not his last, but give him a chance to put them up ahead, because then when they come back if it comes back to game 6, then you can have Gustafsson close it out if Minnesota was winning in that theory. This is all hypothetical. But anyway, back to your thing so we can keep moving along.
Yeah, so I think experience easily goes to Vegas. They are typically going on prolonged runs here, whereas Minnesota is a much younger team who has unfortunately not had a lot of playoff success, so they really just haven't been to the dance a whole lot. So I think easy pick there in terms of experience. I think Vegas has got it just overall as a team. Now,
I mean, when you think of the Stone, Hurdle, these guys have seen the playoffs. Kolasar even now playing on their fourth line. Barbashev, like these guys have been to the playoffs. This team is built for the playoffs. Their defense is really what's been built for the playoffs.
That's also what I was gonna say. I mean, you have Shea Theodore, Noah Hannafin, Alex Pietrangelo. Oof, that is tough. That's a good fucking decor. And I mean, that's not to shit on Minnesota. I mean, Brock Faber has been fantastic, and I think he's going to be a really great defensive D-man. I think Jacob Slavin style. Jonas Brodin is great. We'll see how good Zeev Buyam is, but especially if you're banking on a rookie, I think overall I still got to give that one begrudgingly to Vegas also.
I think the Vegas running Haig and Whitecloud as their third pairing. I think for ridiculous. A lot of teams that would be a second pairing. I mean, Pietrangelo Hannafin should be a top pairing for a lot of teams. So that tells you enough about their top 4 defensively. So, edge can only go to Vegas there, both on experience and talent. If we look at offense, maybe. I mean, it's so hard when you stare at the names Eichel and Stone, and I'm biased to think Hurdle's really great because he is. With Eriksson Ek, Kaprizov, and Boldy, Zuccarello, I might give top 6 to Minnesota. Just flashy goal scoring talent, dynamic. I think if I had to choose, I would give maybe, even if I think Vegas is built better for the playoffs. Maybe if we're just picking raw talent, I'd go a little bit to Minnesota on the top 6.
I'm leaning the same way, And it's tough because I think Minnesota was robbed a little bit with the fact that a lot of their top 6 was fucking injured. So that it's a little unfair looking at like goals and such, but it's like, would you rather have Real Kaprizov or Jack Eichel? It's like, well, I'd probably go Real Kaprizov. Bottom 6, though, I think easily goes to Vegas looking at those two for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with Foligno. Yeah. I think Trenton doesn't get enough credit. I've always thought Gustav Nyquist has always been underrated, in my opinion. But I do think
Will Carlson and Brett Howden and Nick Waugh
you have
on
to
the
give
bottom
the
6.
edge.
I give that to Vegas.
You have to. I just want to recognize that it's not that Minnesota does not have a talented bottom 6.
No. I think, oh God, what are the X factors for this team? I think the X factor for Minnesota is health. Can this team stay healthy? And now that they have everybody back, can it come together and they can play like the team they were at the beginning of the season that was competing for the top of the Central? Right? Can they get Kirill Kaprizov, who was on a heart campaign at the beginning of the season? Can they get that team? Because it clearly had the talent to win. But then they fell off hard, not necessarily through any fault of their own. Injury luck is ass. But the Avalanche also, I think, had equally, if not worse, injury luck and were able to rise above, right? And even usurp them and take their playoff spot and even compete for second place.
Yep, and I would agree with you. If I pivot to Vegas, let me pose this one.
Ooh.
Noah Hanifin. He actually struggled with Vegas earlier in the season, and he had a similar reawakening at the Four Nations, played a lot better hockey there, has come back playing better, but this has not been his greatest season, maybe a little bit underperforming expectations after signing that big contract extension for 8 years at the end of last season. So maybe a bold take here, but that I think he has the ability to be a big X factor with his ability to step up into the offensive play as well.
Okay. But I think if I'm comparing those two X factors for what matters more, I think Minnesota has the edge if their X factor hits over the Knights' with Noah Hanifin, because I think Minnesota's is more of a full team thing, right? Rather than just relying on one person, which, I mean, one person can really make a big difference, obviously, but I think overall, if Minnesota's hits, in my opinion, it gives them a much better chance to actually give Vegas a run for their money. But
flip side, sorry, before we move from that one, if Vegas's misses and Hanifin is pedestrian, they have a higher floor. If Minnesota loses even one player, how much does that, like, they have more players that they need to not lose. So that's, I think it can go either way. I agree with you. The upside, the ceiling is higher for Minnesota, but the floor is higher for Vegas.
That's a very interesting way to look at it. I agree with you. That's an interesting way to think about it. Ponder that one, everybody. And
I got you there. I wasn't even trying to.
Yeah, but I think, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, that's what the Avs have done, right? Is that was the issue the past few years, is that their ceiling was high, but their floor was also very low. And now they've raised the floor. Yeah. Damn, I like it. Well, who did you pick in this matchup, Dom?
Okay, so it pains me deeply.
Who does your gut say?
My gut says Vegas.
My gut also says Vegas.
I'm torn because originally, like a week ago, before everybody was back from Minnesota, I had Vegas in a gentleman's sweep. Now, I'm struggling with the number of games because I feel like if it goes 7 games, in some weird way, that almost favors Minnesota.
It may.
So I feel like I can't pick Vegas in 7 because but Vegas in 5 feels a little disrespectful to a healthy Minnesota. So do I do just 6 and split the difference? That's where I'm struggling right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a final review, I think, at the end. So if you don't have the answer to the games right now, that's okay. We'll ponder it. But next matchup Oh boy. For the 4th year in a row, the Edmonton Oilers versus the Los Angeles Kings. But there's some differences, I think, this time around. Would you not agree with me, Dom?
Yep, just like you are Stan on Hellebuck, even though the playoff failures time after time, this is a different Kings team. This team is scoring a lot more goals. This team has great goaltending that is going very unnoticed in Darcy Kemper.
I know. Didn't even get noticed for the Vezina, which is, I don't think, very.
No, but statistically he is top 3. So that's, I agree. It is unfair. And not to mention all the wins at home and the question of health for Draisaitl. McDavid seems like he's back, but Hyman also possibly as well. Wallman on the defensive side. This one has a different feeling than the last 3 seasons. Vegas is limping in.
The vibes are not good in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And you said Vegas is limping in, and they are.
Or sorry, yeah. Vegas. If I said Vegas, I meant Edmonton's limping in. I'm sorry.
So I think no matter what, Edmonton always, at least in this matchup, despite a really solid top 6 for LA, like this is a solid top 6. I have to just, by proxy, give it to Edmonton when you have McDavid and Draisaitl in the top 6. As much as I want to pick the Kings with Kopitar, Kempe, Fiala, Byfield, Laferriere, Kuzmenko, like that's a good top 6. I have learned better than to bet against fucking Dingle and Draisaitl.
Well, here, how about this though? If Draisaitl is out, does that change?
It does severely. Because McDavid.
So if Draisaitl's out,
if Draisaitl is out, then the Kings.
Then would you
got the
pick
edge.
the Kings top 6?
Yeah, I would.
Because I agree.
Even if it's Connor McDavid, one player does not a team make. It's just a fact. And I mean,
they make each other a lot better. A lot of their success has been playing together. So,
I don't know, man. I gotta give it to Draisaitl this year, who has stepped out of McDavid's shadow. And when McDavid was injured a lot, fucking Draisaitl stepped up and played out of his gourd. So,
yeah, I think Draisaitl is the better one. I'm just saying, overall, they've really played off of each other a lot in their career.
They benefit playing together. Yeah. But overall, if Draisaitl is out, then yes, my pick for top 6 goes to LA, just because then it's a more balanced top 6. Again, hockey is the ultimate team sport. McDavid is amazing, but you can't carry 5 other dudes all by yourself, like even if you are Connor McDavid. So, and I mean that point I think has been proven time and time again with not just McDavid, but like McKinnon when there was a weaker top 6 when the Avalanche have been injured or have gone into the playoffs with a less than complete roster. So I just think that's a fact. Now, in terms of bottom 6, I do want to pick the Kings. Fully healthy, I want to pick the Kings. I think it's a more balanced roster.
It's a more balanced roster.
Oh, he disagrees with me.
I'm not gonna pick against Adam Henrique, Matthias Janmark, and specifically Corey Perry. Man went to, he lost all of them, but man went to 4 straight Stanley Cup finals. I dislike this man deeply. He's played on some teams that the Ducks, for example. I have a strong dislike for Corey Perry. But it just seems to work out for him. He just is in the right place. He's irritating to play against. He's very good at his role. And it's tough for me to, I agree, Dano, Fogle, it's hard for me to pick against those guys. I don't think I can, considering Draisaitl's injury, I think we might be flipped, and I'm giving the edge to LA's top 6 and to Edmonton's bottom 6. And I can't believe I'm saying it.
That's fair. Good. I like that we have some disagreement here. Well, decor. This is an interesting one because top pair for Edmonton, that's a better pair. That's a better top pair. Bouchard and Wallman is what they have listed here.
Yep.
But then you go down Darnell Nurse and Ty Emberson and Brett Kulak and Troy Stetcher. Oof. Whereas I feel personally that, especially with how they've played shutdown hockey this year, I give the edge to the Kings in terms of defense. Even with Bouchard, who is an absolutely unbelievable playoff performer, as much as I hate to say those words, but he also can't be on the ice 60 minutes. So
yeah, I think this goes back to,
and that's why the question is D-core, not top pair.
Well, and this, again, upside again, because Wallman also great offensive defenseman. So when you have Bouchard and Wallman out there together, do they both go offensive and leave themselves vulnerable on the back end a little bit?
Right.
Who's doing the shooting? You're also hamstringing yourself a little bit by having those guys together because they can't both be shooting the puck at the same time. Again, upside, the offensive upside have to give to Edmonton. Overall core, I'll give to LA as well. And then goaltending, we don't even have to get into because I think we both dislike and think the goalies in Edmonton are awful.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the easy pick for goaltending there, which I've already made. Darcy Kemper's been great. Don't need to get into that too much further. Experience, I think, is an interesting one. I lean LA because they have guys who are part of that Stanley Cup roster that they won still. They have Kemper, who's a Stanley Cup winner also. And they just overall have guys who've been deep. And not to say that Edmonton also doesn't have guys who have gone deep in the playoffs. They've been making some long runs over the last few seasons, but I think I give experience edge to LA just on the fact that they have multiple Stanley Cup winners on their team from across different teams at that. So that's where my edge goes. I think that's where my edge goes.
Experience in goaltending, experience on defense. Drew Doughty, I mean, he has to be one of the most experienced players on either of these rosters. Kopitar, for crying out loud. Actually, I stand corrected. He is the most playoff experience of all of these.
Yes.
Yes, they've gone there. Yes, they've been to the playoffs. Yes, they made the cup run and the comeback almost last year. It's got to go to LA for me.
Yep. All right. And finally, X Factor for both these teams. I think we already kind of hit on them. X Factor, is Leon Draisaitl healthy for the Oilers? X Factor for the Kings, can they leverage that home ice advantage? Which one
disagree
do you
slightly.
Oh.
Can they win on the road? Can they win in Edmonton? If the Kings win game 3 or game 4 in Edmonton, they win this series in 5 games.
Ooh.
If the Kings lose one game at home in game 1 or 2, like you're talking about, the Oilers win this series in 6 games. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, then I immediately put X Factor in favor of the Kings if that X Factor hits.
Yeah, but what do you think about that? If the Kings can win one on the road, game 3 or 4, I'm assuming they clean sweep their 3 games at home and they win in 5. But if they drop either game 1 or 2 and are playing on the back foot and a deciding game, they could be down 3-2 on the road in Edmonton. I really think they need to win games 1, 2, and 4. They need to win games 1, 2, and 4. I mean, they could win 1, 2, and 3, but I'd almost rather see them win games 1, 2, and 4 because Edmonton already came back from a 3-0 hole last year.
I put higher importance then on LA's X Factor then, because you're right.
Oh, 100%.
I 100% agree with you. Well,
but I'm torn because that's such a swing. Like it's not like a 7 game. I can't. This series is not going 7 games.
I don't think so either.
It might look like it will go 7 games, but if it goes 5, LA wins.
My gut,
if it goes 6, Edmonton wins. It's that simple.
My gut truly says that this is LA's year, and I've bet on them in the past. But I mean, like, if they can't do it this year, they will never beat Edmonton. Truly. Like, this is the Kings' best shot to do it.
Agreed.
And
100%.
my gut says Kings. My pick is the Kings. I think the Kings are going to do it.
My bracket shows Kings in 5.
All right. There you go. Okay. Final matchup of the West, baby. The Colorado Avalanche versus the Dallas Stars. Here we go. Alrighty, Dom. We'll just let me get my Puckpedia and everything changed over in case I need to reference anything for my sake. But obviously, everyone, there's going to be some fucking bias, but I will try and be as objective as I possibly can. But that's also why I have Dom here. So, all right. Top 6, Nathan MacKinnon. So, yeah, I think if we're going,
wow. I'm just looking at these top 6s side by side, and these are two of, of all the top 6s we've looked at,
it's absurd.
Like, these are two of the top 3 top 6s that we've looked at easily, if not the top 2.
And they have to play each other. But
God, this is tough.
Nah, not for me, obviously.
Well, obviously.
But man, this is such a gross top 6 for the Avalanche. Like, this is one of the best top 6s the Avalanche has ever had. You can't tell me that that's not true.
Oh, you're 100% right. And I'm looking at the roster and how Dallas is built. I just got to say, if I give top 6 to the Avs, I have to give bottom 6 to Dallas looking at this roster.
And that's...
But it is tough for me.
And that's fair. And the problem is what people have said is like Dallas consistently is mixing their lines. So they don't really know, like, they don't really know what their third line is. But that, I agree with you. Duchesne leads their team in scoring, and he's listed here on the third line, right?
And since when does Jamie Benn play on the second line is my thing. Like, that has to be either Sagan or Marchment.
Exactly. And I just want to say, going into this series, who or what do you think is the biggest thing I'm worried about in this series, Dom? My mom guessed it right away. Speaking of which.
The biggest thing you're worried about?
Biggest person. I'll make it easier. Biggest person I'm worried about.
I mean, is it Jamie Benn just being a dick, or is it Rantanen? Because
no, it's Jamie Benn. That motherfucker hurts people.
Yeah, he does. That's why he's on. That's why it's surprising to see him listed higher up. He's a third line guy.
And I'm scared because I hope he has enough respect for Gabriel Landeskog to allow the man to play and doesn't do any fuck shit. Because Jamie Benn has been suspended in the playoffs before because of fuck shit. And he goes out of his way to hurt people. And I don't like him for that reason. So I worry about that. But if I sit here perseverating over it and worrying about it, I'm not going to have fun. So need to try and have fun.
If Jamie Benn does something, Miles Wood's in the lineup next game to go headhunting because he's just been on one with the penalties this year. Or Middleton. You put Jacob Middleton in there to go.
We actually
drop the gloves.
We actually have Keaton. Jacob is on the Wild.
Wrong Middleton. My bad.
But I mean, you read this top 6 for the Avs, and I mean, I absolutely give top 6 to the Avs. Just not even on Nathan MacKinnon alone, but Valeri Nichushkin is one of the most disgusting playoff performers ever. Like, if that dude is on, oh my God, good luck. He was leading the league in scoring before he got suspended. You can't bet against Valeri Nichushkin. You can't.
Yeah, upside certainly to the Avs. I would just Robertson for Dallas can be a bit inconsistent. Wyatt Johnson still very young for Dallas on that second line if that's where he's playing. The stability thing that I think Dallas has when you have guys like Rupe Hintz, Granlund, I've talked about so much this year. Rantanen is still going to Rantanen, Marchment, Sagan. I think I don't necessarily think Dallas has a higher floor. I certainly think the Avs have a higher ceiling, and that'll be the tiebreaker. But These might be the two best top sixes in the entirety of the playoffs this year. I would pick them. I would pick either over Vegas, over LA, over Edmonton,
it's a little
over
ridiculous.
Winnipeg. Like, I think any team in the West right now, the only team that could actually compete with them on a top six, like if I stare it down, is probably Minnesota if they're healthy.
Yeah.
And the fact that all three of these are in the same division makes it that much more ridiculous.
Yeah. D-core, I give to the Avs. Easy. Like, easy. You look at both of these D-cores, their bottom pairing is Smith and Dumba. And Colorado's bottom pairing is Lindgren and Malinsky. And then obviously,
is Heiskanen done, or is Heiskanen going to come back?
Heiskanen will not play in the first round. Okay. So if
Heiskanen's not coming back, then I'll agree with you. If Heiskanen comes back, I have to say no. I have to say it levels it out more. It's very clear right now. It's very clear right now that overall, I would take the Avalanche. Not even a question. The fact that Lindgren's playing on your third pairing, Taves, Makar, all of it.
It's a better top pairing either way.
Yeah, if Heiskanen came back and then the pairings for Dallas were adjusted, it would become more of a fair discussion. But right now, it is absolutely all Avs on defense.
Goaltending. So, interestingly enough, you might be expecting me to say this. So, when we traded for Mackenzie Blackwood, people said, oh, well, he's not as good. He's not going to beat an Ottinger. He's not better than like an Ottinger or somebody like that. Well, egg on your face, motherfuckers. They ended the season with almost identical numbers. So suck on my dick.
But, I mean, I said earlier this year, and I'll let you finish because you're the Avs fan and you might be the one to pick Ottinger here. I'm taking the Avalanche.
Really?
I told 2 episodes ago or an episode ago, I said if you told me one goalie in the playoffs, which one would I rather have? I would rather have Blackwood. And I meant it, especially since there's not a shootout in the playoffs. So I want Blackwood, and Wedgwood is better than DeSmith, and he can rotate in. Ottinger is going to be playing a lot more. I will take the Avalanche. You tell me why not. And this is me being the unbiased person here other than my Blackwood bias, but I'm serious. I've watched him play. I've been rooting. No offense to all the Avs fans, but Corey can tell you I had Dallas picked into the cup for like 3 straight years in my bracket. I was rooting for Pavelski to get a cup. So I've watched a lot of Jake Ottinger in the playoffs. I mean, no disrespect to him. I've just seen a lot of both of these goaltenders play, and I personally would rather have Blackwood, and that's just personal preference.
Yeah. The reason I was going to say Ottinger over Blackwood is simply due to experience. With identical numbers, Ottinger's been a part of multiple deep runs with the Stars. So to me, he has the edge. But I also agree with you that the Avalanche have a better tandem. And what's interesting about you bringing that up is thinking about like Kemper and Francouz is neither of them had ever been on a terribly deep run. In fact, I don't think Francouz had ever had any playoff experience before he stepped in and won 8 games for the Avalanche. Oh man, so do we put too much weight on experience? Man, Dom, you got me thinking, and I don't know if I have an answer.
You know, I don't know if we put too much weight on experience. Experience, sure, it's great to say that it can help prepare you, but it can only go so far. You got to be in the present moment. How about this? All right. And let me know if this helps you. I think there are 2 X factors I would look at for Dallas.
All right.
One, and it's both because they've had moments of going hot and cold.
Yeah.
I have seen, just when you talk experience, I've seen Jake Ottinger have a bad night in the playoffs. I've seen him get rattled.
True.
I've seen Jason Robertson go cold for 4 or 5 game streaks in a row.
Yeah.
Those are Dallas's X factors.
Yeah.
If Ottinger has a bad night at home, game 1, does he bounce back? Can Robertson actually score consistently?
He's injured too.
And he's injured, right? So and then obviously you can pick whoever the X factor is for the Colorado. I don't think it really matters. I think
the X factor for Colorado is twofold. It's, does Valeri Nichushkin be on his best behavior, and does Gabe Landeskog play? Those are the two biggest things, and I think that outweighs literally any other team's X factors, especially Gabriel Landeskog.
And it's not does Gabe Landeskog play; it's when does Gabe Landeskog play. So I think the X factor, but I think the point of why I started this X factor is because I think the consistency, the stability of the Avalanche goaltending, and if we're saying goaltending overall, I think having Ottinger need to play more games and also be a little we're talking thin margins here. We're like razor thin margins. He's been a little bit more hit or miss than Blackwood has been. Blackwood has been just a bit more dependable, and when he's not in, Wedgwood has just been right there, dependable, consistent play,
Wedgwood's
and that ability to
amazing.
rotate if one of them is having a bit of an off night. I think when we think of that from an X factor, I do think the goaltending, like I said at first, I mean, I'll take Blackwood straight up one-on-one with Ottinger, and I know I'm no disrespect to Ottinger. I think he's a great goaltender. I would just personally still think Blackwood is better. And I mean, you talk experience. How about age, maturity? Ottinger's still 26. Blackwood's 28. Who's more adult? That can matter too. Who can keep a calmer head? You know, and those are things, psychology, that we can't get into the mind of these guys. We can just estimate.
Well, Dom, who did you pick? Who did you pick for this matchup, Dom?
Avs in 6.
That's what I said. I picked Avs in 6.
They're going to win this round against this team in this state, in Denver, in front of the home faithful. And get this, bold prediction. That game 6 is going to go to overtime. Gabe Landeskog scores.
Fuck yeah! I fantasized about that. Yeah, that's exactly what's gonna fucking happen. I don't know if I sent it to you, but I literally typed out a fantasy about that exact thing, and I sent it to a friend. Oh my god, that's crazy! You read my mind. That's
final score: Avalanche 4, Colorado 3. Avalanche win in 6.
Avalanche 4, Colorado 3.
Sorry, Avalanche 4, Stars 3. Sorry, it's
Avalanche
early.
Win.
I haven't had coffee today.
It's all good. All right, so the West came out like this. I had Jets over the Blues in 6, Avs over the Stars in 6, Vegas over Minnesota in 5, and Kings over Oilers in 5. So that makes the second round Avs versus Jets and Knights versus Kings.
Ooh, so which one are we talking about first? Or are we pivoting to the East?
We're pivoting to the East. We're pivoting to the East, and then we'll come back. So the East is an interesting one because I'm having a way harder time with it because I already know who's like getting through the West here. That's not really changed since our early predictions way back when. The East, though, I don't know what the fuck's going on with the East.
Let's knock out the easy one in the East. Let's get ourselves going.
Well, let me say this. I think the East, there is more possibility for upset.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that a fair thing to say? I think there's a much higher possibility for upset here in the East. All right.
Well, higher possibility. I think the most likely upset, if we could call it that, in my opinion, would be Minnesota over Vegas. Minnesota, if that team plays the way they played at the start of the season, fully healthy, that team is not a wild card team. That team
true.
Is top of the Central, so that is a heavyweight matchup. So it depends on what Minnesota shows up, right?
Yeah.
But I think you are correct. There are more potential upsets in the East, and they seem more likely. They're not just one singular team dependent.
Yeah. And, I don't even think we need to go through all the rigmarole here. I'll fill it out for my own sanity, and we can hit on a few points if you want to. Carolina's going to beat New Jersey.
We're giving him a gentleman's sweep just out of respect and sorrow for New Jersey. Otherwise, I would put this one as a 4-0 Carolina.
Looking at New Jersey, they still have a great top 6. I mean, Heischer and Bratt are great. Timo Meier and Eric Halla are also great, along with Dawson Mercer. I mean, that's a great top 6. And I don't think it's necessarily worse than what Carolina is fielding, although Seth Jarvis has been on a unbelievable tear. And I think, overall, the lineups in terms of offensive talent aren't necessarily better than one another. I think in terms of decor and experience, Carolina's got that all fucking day, especially with Jacob Slavin, who's been one of the best defensive defensemen in the league, as well as Carolina's made a lot of deep runs. And New Jersey's just too youthful, as well as, unfortunately, their coach is a guy who I don't think has only ever made it out of the who's only ever made it out of the first round of playoffs once. I think New Jersey's got an edge in goaltending, especially in terms of like how injured Freddie Anderson has been. Kochetkov is also still young, and I put a lot of trust in Jacob Markstrom. But they don't have Jack Hughes. And yeah, one player does not a team make, but that matters. Like, you cannot tell me that the Avalanche have as good of a chance of winning the Stanley Cup without Nathan MacKinnon as they do with him. No, they don't. It's plain and simple. Jack Hughes is the Devils' Nathan MacKinnon. So, I mean, plain and simple, I think Carolina's got this matchup barring a massive collapse, which, again, that could absolutely happen. That could happen. But
the only thing I disagree with you on is top six or just even bottom six too. I'll take Carolina's offense straight up. Yeah, you mentioned Jarvis. How about Aho? Kotkaniemi, Martinuk, Stankoven there has played really well early on. Stahl. I mean, and then less for Svechnikov.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And I know, like, I think it's Jankowski people have been super high on. So yeah.
I mean, so I just offense has to go. I'll say all four lines in Carolina's favor. Defense, the only like the missing defenseman to the puzzle of having like the best defense in the league would just be if Dougie Hamilton played for Carolina instead of New Jersey.
Yeah, and he's injured too.
Yep, he's injured too. Pesce's was missing some time for New Jersey. Kevich is on their injury list. I think that was just rest. They're missing Siegenthaler. They're missing Hughes on the offensive side. It's just not the same team. Like there are a lot of Sharks on this team that I like and that went on runs. Brendan Dillon, Timo Meier. They didn't win for a reason. They fell short in the playoffs. So I just this New Jersey team is destined for defeat, and I'm giving them the respect of getting one win.
Yep. All right. Let's go to Washington and Montreal here. So I actually, strangely, and maybe it's not strange, I feel like on their first line alone, I think Montreal has the better top six. I like the Caulfield, Suzuki, Slafkovsky line. I like it a lot. I do.
Oh, it's the new perfection line. It's the closest thing we got in the league these days.
Why can I not find the Capitals? There they are. Good. But yeah, I mean, I like, and then, then Line Newhook, Demidov. That's fun. That is fun. But then, oh boy, Ovechkin, Strome, McMichael, Dubois, Wilson. That's also a solid top six.
Beauvillier, yeah, and not to mention Mangiapane can step up sometimes too.
I personally am still leaning in favor of actually Montreal. Me personally, I'm leaning in favor.
I think Montreal has. Oh, it's so hard to pick against Ovi, but I do have to say, if we're talking about teams, and that's the point here, give it to Montreal. But the bottom six, I don't want to pick against guys like Yoel Armia. I think I will give it to the Capitals, though.
Yeah, that's fair, and I agree with that. Decor. Let's see. Let's take a look here. Oh boy.
The problem is Montreal's is very young overall,
yes,
so we're kind of putting a lot of like investment or faith in
experience. It's easy to say that the Caps have the Caps have the edge in experience and goaltending. Like, their tandem is electric, man. Like, Lindgren and Thompson. Why is Thompson not listed here? The hell? Who's this Stevenson guy? Thompson's on IR. That's not great. That's really not great.
He's day to day for upper body.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
They just had him out.
Lindgren and Thompson is like an absolutely electric tandem. So then, who has the better decor here? Do you ultimately think? Because I don't know.
The fact that Van Riemsdyk's on the second pairing with Chychrun, Chychrun, sorry. Yeah, I knew that too. That's bad on me. Bad, Dominic.
Bad.
Oof. This is such a hard one for me because I know this isn't answering your question, but in this series, either the Capitals are just going to wipe the floor with them and win in 5, or Montreal is going to win this in an absolute battle in 7 games. This either goes 5 games. It's just like the Kings one. Either Capitals win in 5 or Montreal wins in 7, and there's really no in between.
And here's the, I think you can put that to the X factor. The X factor for the Capitals is, does Ovi show up? And the X factor for the Montreal Canadiens is, are they able to capitalize on the youth movement and make another unicorn run here? And I put more stake in the upset there. But
I think Montreal can play free, and so that can be a good thing that you don't have expectations.
Yeah, you're very right.
I think the X factor isn't so much does Ovi show up. It's the Washington's X factor is how disciplined are Montreal. If Montreal commits a lot of sloppy young mistake penalties, then Ovi will show up. It's just a matter of its volume. He will get to the left circle. Even if you're there trying to stop him, he still always will get there, and he will fire it home. So it's not if Ovi shows up, it's if Montreal gives him the chance, really.
Yeah. Who did you pick, Dom?
I did take the Capitals in 5.
The Capitals
if you recall, like early on when we said if we picked the playoff run today, I had Montreal running up the other half of this bracket as the 7 seed at the time, and then losing to the Capitals in the Eastern Conference Final. So I'm going to stand on business that the Capitals are going to win this matchup.
All right, that's fair. Next matchup, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. Yeah. So this is a fun one, right?
Oh yeah!
Because both of these teams have a talented top 6. Really, it's hard to bet against either of them because I like them both.
When in doubt, give me Kachuk.
Ooh, interesting. I was gonna say when in doubt, give me Nylander and Marner personally.
You know me. I'm gonna talk physical hockey. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Toronto's gonna shell out all this money for Nylander and Tavares and Matthews and Marner, and they got fucking $45 million between 4 players, and then the next most paid guy is Domi at $3.75 million, Yarncroke at 2.1. Like, it's just so top heavy. We can give the top 6 to Toronto.
We don't have to. You do whatever the fuck you want, dude.
No. We can give the top 6 to Toronto, but if you want to tell me which roster I'd rather have, which in a absolute dogfight of a series, I want the physical roster. I want whatever roster has a Kachuk brother on it personally, and that's just how I like to watch hockey. What I think physicality is huge, like we talk about in the playoffs, and he's not like Jamie Benn hunting for an injury, but he's hunting for a hit, and he's gonna make those guys feel some pain, and that we'll see how much that throws off their shot making ability.
Yeah, interesting. I think experience, even though they've only really made it to round 1, it goes to Toronto just because they've made more playoffs. Easy enough there. Goaltending,
and just the average age of the roster too.
Goaltending, I think, despite the heroics of Ullmark, also goes to Toronto. I think they have a better tandem. Stolarz and Wool have been. I think Stolarz and Wool have been great in the system that Craig Berube has created. And I think
is Stolarz in the Vezina top 3 or is he top 5?
He's in there. I don't know if he's in the top 3, but he's in the top 5.
He's top 5 in every metric. He has the highest save percentage by 0.001% over Hellebuck.
But I mean, if you're in the same company as Hellebuck, that's
his GAA is top 3. His shutouts are, he doesn't have as many shutouts, but whatever. That's not his fault necessarily. Stolarz is the better goaltender on his own over Ullmark. Ullmark has questionable playoff history. He has been to the playoffs, but the Bruins have also fallen short.
He was hurt though that year. He was hurt, and they didn't put in fucking Jeremy Swayman soon enough. And it bit them in the ass.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if I'm looking at this, though, if I look on GAA, Ullmark doesn't even make top 20 in the league.
Yeah. So
and save percentage, like, we know what he can do, but we can't put him over 2 great goaltenders.
Yeah.
It just can't be done.
I think the X factor is, And I put a lot more stock in Toronto's because I think the X factor for Ottawa is very similar to that of Montreal, right? They're playing free. They don't have any expectations. They don't have any pressure. They've made it back to the playoffs. They're living good. They feel great. Toronto has the weight of the world on their shoulders. They won their division. They finally did it. So they get home ice advantage. They get to play a wild card team. That's great. They earned all that. Do you choke it away again? Do you fall victim to the history that has plagued you forever and ever, right? And this is where the East is so hard for me because I could easily see Ottawa coming out and beating the Leafs, but I also think the Leafs have got it. I feel like with not having Sheldon Keefe behind the bench, they have better goaltending. They play great defensive hockey, but also have that high-end scoring talent and also the experience. I picked the Leafs. That's my gut.
They tried to rearm at the deadline, I think.
And I think they filled their they filled some of their holes.
Yeah, I just think the missing of Pacioretty, Hakanpää, Ekman Larson, even Reeves are all not but playing. Reeves is a chooser.
I like that decor though. I think Tanev and Carlo were fucking great ads. Jake McCabe is also really great for them. So I mean, I don't know.
I think if we go based on everything with statistics and numbers and the spreadsheet and everything that you have, that table, I think other than me just introducing some question marks in there, maybe taking the bottom six for Ottawa, like if I'm an idiot, and definitely just wanting to take it to Chuck Brother.
Pick who you want, bro. Don't let me tell you to pick.
My point is, all the numbers say Toronto should have this series in 5.
Mm-hmm.
My gut tells me Ottawa's going to win this series.
All right.
And I'm giving respect to Toronto, saying Ottawa will win in 7, but I think Ottawa could win this in 6. I think Ottawa could win this in 5. And it's not about numbers. It's just about gut feel.
Yeah. Alrighty, Dom. This is
so. Which one did you pick? How many games did you give in favor of Toronto there?
I haven't decided. I'll tell you after we make our final pick here.
Okay.
This last one to me is the hardest matchup for me to pick. I can't even lie to you. Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers. This is ass because a team from Florida has made the Stanley Cup final for 5 years. It is so unbelievably difficult for me to bet against either of these teams because I feel like Tampa Bay has been way better this year. Like, this is a good Tampa Bay team. And I think Florida, they're in trouble because I think Tkachuk is hurt. So
yeah, he is. He's still not on the active roster.
He'll come back. No, he will play. Don't get it wrong. He'll play. I don't think he'll play well. I think he's still hurt, and I think he's going to force himself to play, and it's not going to help his team.
So I think you're right. Let's cover some of the easy bases. Do we agree we'll take playoff Vasi over Bob?
Yes, and I mean, they both won Stanley Cups, but Vasi is too. So I'll take it. I'll take playoff Vasi over playoff.
How about also something important here? If I look at these defenses, noting that Ekblad still has to miss the first 2 or 3 games.
He has to miss, I think, the first 2. It's 1 or 2, but no more than that.
Even when he comes back, I still think I'll take Tampa Bay's defense. I'll take Victor Hedman. I'll take Chernak. I'll take McDonough.
I disagree.
I mean, Radish has played well.
I think Forsling is really, really good. Ekblad and Forsling is a fucking absolutely brutal top pair.
Oh, it's a brutal top pairing, but if you talk multiple pairings in depth, I mean, and yes, Tampa runs 7 D-man, so there's a rotation there near the bottom. But my gut is telling me you're right. The top end of the defense is probably better for Florida, but I'll take the overall set of 3 pairings, if you will, for Tampa Bay, because I think Radish has been playing better perhaps than people expected. And that's why they run 7 D-men.
I still take Florida personally. Oh boy. See, this is why this one sucks. Oh my God. Okay. Top 6. Oh my fucking God. Oh, these are really good. Let's replace Samoskevich here with Tkachuk, right? Let's pretend we have Tkachuk here. So you have Barkov, Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Rodriguez, Bennett, Tkachuk.
What I can easily say, bottom 6 to Florida. Agree?
I don't know. Well,
Lucian, Lundell, Marchand.
Looking at their 4th line for Tampa, yeah, okay. I can give bottom 6 to Florida. Yeah, I can
bottom 6 to Florida. Let's get that easy one out of the way.
I give top 6 Tampa Bay. I think I give top. Oh, but Barkov! Nope, not one player does the team make. I think Tampa Bay has the better top 6. Nope.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Barkov, Verhaeghe, Reinhart, it's beautiful, but I'm sorry. Kucherov, Point, Cirelli.
No, you're right. You're right.
These guys won 3 cups in a row for a reason.
They won 2 cups in a row, motherfucker.
They went to 3.
They were gonna win the 3rd until they met the Colorado Avalanche.
Not to mention that now they have Jake Gensel as well.
Yeah, no, I go Tampa.
Yanni Gord still too. Hagel,
man, who do you give the experience bump to? Oh no! Recency bias would say the Panthers, but overall,
it has to go to Tampa. It has to go to Tampa overall. Tampa's been on more runs, deeper runs. Playoff Vasi has more experience than playoff Bob. I'm with you. It is like the same issue we were looking at with Dallas versus Colorado, where this is an extremely exciting and balanced matchup at the 2-3, which is going to be wonderful for us all to watch. I mean, this might be other than the Avs Dallas, this is going to be the series that I don't want to miss a minute of any game.
I picked Tampa.
Oh yeah, I have Tampa as well.
I'm picking Tampa.
How many games?
6.
Yeah, I have them in 6 as well.
6 for Tampa, 5 for the Caps in Montreal. You know what? No, that's going to go 7. That's going to be a dogfight. 5 gentlemen sweep for Carolina and New Jersey. I'll go 6 for Toronto and Ottawa.
I think I'm going to revise and I'll give Montreal another game and make it go 6. If it goes 7, in my brain, if that series goes 7 games, Montreal's winning it. So I can't, in good conscience, pick Washington in 7 because it just doesn't make sense to my brain.
Do what makes sense to you, brother. All right, we've made it to the semifinals, and I'm going to somewhat put the table away. We can still reference certain things if you want to, but I'm just going to start. Since we've already kind of talked about each thing, now we can kind of re-reference those. So you know what? I'll let you pick which matchup you want to talk about first now. So, although we might have different ones. So I guess to review for the East.
Let's start with the ones that we have the same.
Yeah, so to review for the East, I have Toronto and Tampa Bay and the Capitals and the Hurricanes. That's who I got.
The only thing different is since I have Ottawa in 7, I'll tell you right now, I'll take Tampa Bay over either.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that because the shitty thing is the 2 teams out of the East that I think could make the final are playing each other in the semifinals. So this sucks. Oh boy. What's crazy is I could easily see a Colorado Tampa Bay final again. I really could.
Oh, what do you think I have picked in my bracket right now?
Clearly what I just said.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's any other way this goes, honestly.
I do, though.
I mean,
I actually put some stock in the Leafs going all the way.
I mean, obviously, I have the Leafs losing in round 1, so we can't get there.
Okay, well, let's talk about the matchups that we have matching. Do we have Vegas and the Kings matching?
Yeah.
I'm going Vegas.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Vegas will be the higher seed. They'll have home ice. It's
hard for me to bet against Vegas. It really is. The Kings could prove me wrong, though. The Kings could prove me wrong.
We talked about this is the Kings' year to beat Edmonton. It either happens now or it doesn't happen. I don't know. This is purely on gut feel because you're right. Everything
you want to know what's
Vegas
crazy
has the experience
is looking at their like side by side. If you click on the little analysis things, they're almost dead fucking even. Vegas just has the edge in power play, and the Kings have a slight edge in penalty kill.
Does this help if I tell you that that the Kings against Vegas took 3 out of 4 games they played this season?
No, because the Winnipeg Jets swept Colorado last season, and then the Colorado Avalanche gentlemen swept the Jets in the first round. So no, does not help me one fucking bit. I put almost zero stock in regular season like series.
Fair enough. I don't know. If we think goaltending, I'd rather have Kemper. Defense, I'd probably take Vegas's defense though. Top experience, I think, has to go to Vegas on a recency bias, but it's hard to pick against a guy like Drew Doughty and Kopitar and the runs they had a long time ago now, because they've won cups.
It's tough because I've kind of had my mind made up about the West for a while, and it's been hard for me to change it.
In my brain, I've had my mind made up as well. I figured it was always going to be Colorado versus the Kings.
Wow. And I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I don't think you're wrong. But
I mean, my mind has been made up honestly for a little. Like once we knew the bracket was set, it was made up for me. Like it really just depended on a little bit like where on Ottawa versus Montreal ended up, or if some other team snuck in. Like, I mean, I could see Minnesota beating Vegas, but I think the Kings could take either of them. You know, I mean,
spoiler alert, everybody, we picked the Avs to beat the Jets. I don't think we need to answer too many questions. And I'm not going to.
We don't get to pick the game counts, but no. I would have the Avs over the Jets in 5 personally.
Again, damn, bro, that's brutal. I love it.
I have
the Avs going to the Stanley Cup final, y'all. Like, am I biased? Do I have homerism? Yes, but I also didn't pick the Avs to go to the final last year. So I truly believe in this roster. I've said it like 20 times. The Avs needed 2 things to win the Stanley Cup again. Valerian Nichushkin and Gabriel Landeskog, they have both. I genuinely, as the host of this podcast, see no reason why the Avalanche cannot win another Stanley Cup.
And their goaltending is better than it was last time. Yeah, in my opinion. And it's not even close.
Now you're telling me that this path to the cup is easy? No, this is fast. You have to play Dallas, Winnipeg, and then obviously either the Knights or the Kings. At least that's how I'm pretty convinced how it's going to go.
I mean, you could still technically have to go Dallas, Winnipeg, Minnesota, and settle it by playing all 3 of the Central teams. It is hypothetically possible.
What's hilarious about this is it might not even be what happens, but this is what I believe is going to happen. And you know what? That's why you make your own bracket, because you can tell me what you think is going to happen. All right, Caps and Canes. I'm going Caps.
Oh, you have Canes or Kings? Sorry.
Canes in the East. I'm switching back to the East here now. Caps and Canes. Sorry. I am going Canes. Or sorry. No! Caps in the Eastern Conference Final. I'm picking the Washington Capitals to go to the Eastern Conference Final. I think they have a better team than the Carolina Hurricanes.
I have Canes.
No, I refuse. Not after everything they have done this year. The Canes are clearly missing something. There is a reason that they have never made it to the fucking final. This team is lacking something. Can I tell you what it is? No. But they keep making the second round every year. Sometimes they even make a deep run to the final, and then they lose. They lose every time. And I think Washington just has an objectively better roster that can score. They have better goaltending. Yeah, fucking the Canes might have the edge in defense, but I just think, oh boy, but Washington also has that youth roster. I don't know. I think it's Washington, though. I pick Washington. Nope, I pick Washington.
It's a tough one. If I'm honest, I don't think the Metro has a shot in hell of winning a cup this year. I don't think any of those teams
absolutely
do.
fucking not. Oh,
it's the only division I don't think there's a team that has a shot, because I've said for a while, whoever wins the Dallas-Colorado series wins the cup for me.
Yeah.
But the other teams I think can win the cup. LA could win the cup. That's the one team I don't think Vegas can win the cup this year, honestly.
A lot of people agree with you about LA. Again, I definitely could see LA winning that series.
I really see it as whoever conquers the Atlantic against whoever conquers the Central. And that's how I get Tampa versus Colorado. That's how I get
this is hard. This is hard because I genuinely believe that Toronto or Tampa could come out of the fucking East here. And I have them playing each other in the second round. This sucks. Well, okay. Who did you pick? Who did you pick in the conference final? Who is it versus who? Who versus who?
I have Tampa versus Carolina.
Okay, and then you have Tampa going all the way to the final versus Colorado.
And if it helps, I would have Tampa over Washington as well. If I moved Washington on instead of Carolina, I would still have Tampa win.
But I really do believe in this Leafs team. Damn it! But
See, when we talk about not putting too much stock on regular season games, I don't buy it. Like I'm not betting on like trying to root against the Leafs and have them crash out again.
I think the coaching change will help them so much. Craig Berube is a Stanley Cup winning coach. I think that means something. But so is John Cooper. Fuck!
I mean, if it helps, Toronto swept them in the regular season. I know you say it doesn't, but Toronto did sweep Tampa in the regular season.
Oh my fucking god! I don't know. I actually am at a stalemate with myself. I don't know. Because, I mean, if it was Tampa Bay versus Ottawa, this would be easy. I would pick Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it is.
It's easy
for me.
This is not easy because to me, whoever comes out of the Toronto Tampa Bay is going to go to the final here. And obviously, I have Colorado winning the cup. Man, I just want to try and be as accurate as possible here. And I really am trying to think about this like through an analytic mind. Like, who do I feel like wins this series? Oh man, and I always talk about...
let me just ask you questions.
I always talk about history too. Okay, fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Who would you rather have, Vasi or Stolars?
Vasi.
Okay, so goaltending. Defense. I know you weren't big on Tampa's defense, so would you rather have like this rebuilt Toronto defense?
Yes.
Let's just say...
But I guess it depends on injuries, right? Because it seems like they still have guys out.
I mean, yeah, Tampa had Bjorkstrand sitting out. I can't tell if it's a lower body thing. We'll see how much he's able to play because that makes a big difference. Toronto, obviously, Ekman Larson, Pacioretty, Hakanpää are all out. McCabe is on the on a upper body day to day, so he should be able to play. But at what level? I mean,
but
you're making me think I'm doubting this Toronto roster too much.
I don't like Tampa Bay's bottom six as much, but fuck, that top six is good. And I mean, Eric Chernak, Victor Hedman, JJ Moser, Ryan McDonough, that is a good fucking D-core. Oh man, I was gonna pick Toronto, but I'm doubting myself now, especially because of those injuries in history.
You're making me doubt myself about the Ottawa Toronto.
But Tampa Bay has a fucking history of winning.
Yep.
And this is a much improved roster.
Not to mention, we have to continue the streak of a Florida team in the finals.
Yeah, I'm going Tampa. Fuck it. I'm going Tampa.
It's just the thing now. You're making me wonder though if I did the wrong thing with Ottawa over Toronto. No. You're making me gut check.
Stick with your gut, Dom. Stick with your gut. How many goals are scored in the Stanley Cup final rematch? God, that'd be fucking insane.
Is it in the Stanley Cup final, the final?
The final series is what it's asking.
Overall.
No, final series. That'll probably go 6 games again. Going 32 goals. Don't ask me where that number came from, everybody. Okay. All righty, everybody. We're going to share our brackets out loud with you. Don't forget to join the Captain Avalanche Fancast League. Here's my bracket. In the first round between the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues, I have the Winnipeg Jets winning in 6 games. Between the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche, I have the Avalanche winning in 6 games. Between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild, I have Vegas Golden Knights winning in 5 games. And between the Kings and the Oilers, I have the Kings winning in 5 games. On the East, I have Toronto beating Ottawa in 6 games. I have Tampa beating Florida in 6 games. I have the Capitals beating Montreal in 7. And I have Carolina beating New Jersey in 5. For the Western Conference semifinal, I have the Avs beating the Jets and the Knights beating the Kings. On the Eastern side, I have Toronto and Tampa, with Tampa coming out on top and the Caps beating Carolina. The Western Conference final, I have the Avalanche and the Knights, with the Avalanche coming out on top. In the conference final, I have the Lightning and the Capitals, with the Lightning rematching the Colorado Avalanche in the Stanley Cup final, with Colorado once again coming out on top. Also, I named my bracket Booga Booga.
My bracket name is Dom from the Tank because it wasn't letting me change my username, even though it like showed as changing. It still showed as my old one. So if my username will actually change, then I'll rename mine Calder Brini instead of Dom from the Tank. I'll just do the same thing and run through them the way you did, even though a lot of our left side is similar. I have Winnipeg over St. Louis in 6 games. I have Colorado over Dallas in 6 games. I have Vegas over Minnesota in 7 games. And LA over Edmonton in 5 games. On the East, I have Ottawa over Toronto in 7 games. I have Tampa Bay over Florida in 6 games. I have Washington over Montreal in 6 games. And I have Carolina over New Jersey in 5 games. Looking at the second round, I have in the West, Colorado over Winnipeg. Are we saying the games for each of these ones? Because we don't have the points for those.
No, you don't need to. If you want to, you can.
Okay.
You don't need to.
Well, I would estimate this one to go 5 games. And then I have the Kings over the Knights in 6 games mentally there. In the second round, I have Tampa Bay over Ottawa in 5 games. I have Carolina over Washington in 6 games. Colorado over the Kings, I have that going 6 games. I have Tampa Bay over Carolina. Tampa Bay will take that one down in 5 games. And then I have Colorado beating the Tampa Bay Lightning in the rematch as well. And I have them doing it in 7 games.
Oh my gosh. So there you go, everybody. We have had some differences in opinion, which I appreciate. I'm glad we did. So don't forget, you can actually join different brackets or different leagues and make different brackets. So join as many fucking leagues as you want. There's a lot of different club leagues. The Colorado Avalanche finally have one this year. They haven't had one in years past, which is kind of fucking lame. So definitely do that. If you want to make different brackets for different leagues, do that. Don't forget that you actually need to assign a bracket to the different leagues. So for example, you have to assign your bracket that you make to our Captain Avalanche Fancast League, which I have done. You can see our brackets live. You can see that we are not lying. Those are our brackets. I'm sticking with this one bracket this year. I'm not making another one, but man, Dom, this was as fun as I imagined it to be.
It certainly was a lot of fun. We hope to see those numbers bump up from 7. It looks like the official bracket challenge has over 208,000 players from around the North Americas primarily, I assume. So exciting to see how many people are playing this. So it's a lot of fun. It's really not much effort to be involved. So we hope to see you join us and make your picks and show us how wrong we were. You don't have to be just like us picking the Avalanche. And just remember, Corey is Captain Avalanche, but I am here as about as neutral as you can get. I know root for the home team and all that jazz, but honestly, this is a phenomenal Avs roster, so don't be afraid to pick them to win.
Yeah. Well, everybody, let's wrap up this episode. Your 3 players of the regular season, in my opinion. Nathan MacKinnon is not on this list, by the way, but Nathan MacKinnon's greatness is always recognized. But my 3 players of the regular season are number 3, Scott Wedgwood, who over Mackenzie Blackwood came in and brought the first sense of stability to to the Avalanche's goaltending. The good vibes were immediately transferred from him. And as much as I love McKenzie, I think a lot of the team's positive attitude and outlook stemmed from that first game that he stepped in Buffalo, helped the Avs get a comeback, got a shutout, even though it didn't count as a shutout. Scott Wedgwood, everyone. Number 2 is Martin Necas, who was a part of the biggest deal in the last decade and has come in and been everything the Avalanche needed him to be. Now all he has to do is have a great playoffs. I love this kid. I hope we keep him around for a long time, and I hope that this season was only his floor, and he's going to be hitting 100-point seasons here in the future. And number 1, who did I pick for number 1, Dom? I think it's probably an obvious choice, but who did I pick?
I'm sorry, my brain's not right now. You're just gonna have to tell me. I think you've talked about so many players this year.
Cale Makar, Dom, is my number 1 player for the Avalanche.
I should have known that. You're right.
For the regular season, and I don't really think I need to explain why. 30-goal season, 9th defenseman, never do it. Also stepped up his defensive play a ton after receiving criticism last year. Another Norris Trophy is in his future, as well as perhaps even another Conn Smythe. Well, here's your fun fact for the day, everyone. I was curious when thinking about this week's fun fact, which teams have faced each other the most in playoffs, because it feels like in recent memory, the Avs have been seeing the Stars a lot, along with the Blues and even the Sharks at one point. We can most likely blame this on the current playoff format, but it hasn't always been this way. This information that I'm about to present to you is not necessarily the most simple to narrow down, but Wikipedia shockingly came to the rescue. Upon initial inspection, it has each franchise and relays which teams they have played in the playoffs and how many times. Seeing the Anaheim Ducks had played the Red Wings 6 times in the playoffs, I thought, wow, that's a lot. Until I scrolled down and until I scrolled down to the Bruins, who had played the Montreal Canadiens a whopping 34 times in their history. Which,
wow.
Yeah. Which really,
is that because of original 6
yeah,
stuff?
Exactly. This makes sense as they're both original 6 teams in the same conference with a history of playoff longevity. And I wish I could say, as I scrolled further, that I found another pair of teams with an even greater playoff history, but no such luck. The Bruins and the Habs are far and away the leaders in this department. Interestingly enough, though, Montreal is also the most frequently faced opponent for several other franchises, including the Hurricanes at 7, the Blackhawks at 17, the New York Rangers at 16, and the original Ottawa Senators franchise at 4. And in case you're wondering, the Avalanche have played Dallas the most, with this year's playoff series marking the 7th time the two teams have met in the big dance in their history.
Telling you, that's the rivalry of this day and age, and we'll probably see it another few times here in the next couple of years.
Well, everyone, the clock is counting down to the final horn. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. Did you know there is a comment section where you can leave your thoughts and questions? If you have something you want to know about the Avalanche, Sharks, or just hockey in general, leave it below and we'll be happy to try and answer it. There's also a unique poll for you to interact with every episode. The best thing you can do if you like what we're doing here is to follow us on whatever platform you're using and share this podcast everywhere you can, whether that's with your mouse or your mouth. I'm Captain Avalanche Corey.
This is Dom from the Tank.
Check out our new episodes every week. We're going to be covering the playoffs every week. We are so excited. Go join the Captain Avalanche Fancast Bracket League. Do it. You got to do it. We need everybody to prove us wrong that we suck and we are stupid. But we love you all. This has been an amazing regular season. This journey has been awesome. And we are so stoked for the playoffs, and you should be too. We'll see you soon.
If I may, thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate you, and we'll talk to you more soon. And thanks for just sticking with us for this ride through our first season.
Drink your water, everyone.
Drink your water!